Many entrepreneurs in general do not have unique intellectual property. You lack your own frameworks, you lack your own approaches, you lack your own way of talking about the problem and helping your ideal client with the solution. That is such a big deal because intellectual property is key to building an author platform because it helps you be known for something. All right, everybody, today we've got a great question that came in from Chazz. I'm going to let him take it away.
Hi, Megan. My question is related to building a credible author platform. So aside from having a substantial amount of social media following, what are the most effective ways an author can build credibility and demonstrate a strong author platform to successfully secure a book deal with a major publisher? So that's my question.
This is a really great question, so thank you, Chazz. Unfortunately, the answer is hard to address in a podcast because it's going to be unique to every single one of you listening. That said, I'm going to share some tips that will hopefully help all of you, and then I'm going to walk through what I found when I did my usual Googling a bro approach on Chazz specifically. So let's start with the tips, shall we? The truth is that your social media following is important, and it's maybe even crucial for your book deal, but not maybe for the reasons you think. Social is powerful within traditional publishing for two main reasons. First, it's a direct audience that you, as the author, mostly control. I say mostly because entrepreneurs who have been online for more than a minute know that your audience on social media is dependent on the platforms themselves, meaning that Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, whatever platform you're on, and the company or even the individual who owns that platform ultimately owns and controls your audience. More specifically, that company owns your ability to reach those people. So if you get blocked or the algorithm changes, how often and how effectively you interact with the audience you've built could also be impacted. However, even considering all of that, social media is a great way to test ideas, connect with your potential clients, and build influence online. That's why entrepreneurs love it, and most use it as a primary marketing and sales channel. Publishers also know how effective social media can be in creating awareness and generating sales, which is why publishers want to leverage social media too, and why they have insisted on everyone having a strong online presence for the last 20 years. So that's number one, right? Social media is a great way to reach your audience. Number two is that social media platforms are public. Anyone can see what you're up to, and there's very little shadiness. In theory, you could lie about your email list. You could lie about your connections. You could lie about your revenue. You could even lie about your business overall. But your following and your engagement on social media is obvious to anyone with an internet connection. Let's go to Tangent Town for a brief story. I have a client who has over 500,000 followers across social platforms. When her book proposal landed with publishers, there was actually a question about her low engagement and whether she had bought followers. Now, she hadn't, right? But we did figure out that she was using a strategy that involves exchanging likes and shares with other creators to collectively grow audiences. We were able to explain that strategy to the publisher and alleviate their concerns. My client ended up getting a deal in the end, but the point of this particular Tangent Town is that publishers were paying attention to engagement and digging into all the information available to them on public platforms like social media when evaluating her like an author. Let that be a lesson to you that buying followers or trying to rush success never really pays off. I'm not even that social media literate, and when I look at people, I'm like, ooh, something's off here. You know, they're telling me they earned $10 million last year, and I'm seeing 0 likes. I'm seeing 0 comments, or I'm only seeing 26,000 followers. Something doesn't compute. So let's get back to the topic of this episode, which is how to build a credible author platform. So in addition to social media, the second thing I personally look for is diversification. And what I mean by that is that you use more than one medium to reach people. Meaning that you have social and a podcast, or maybe you do speaking and have research studies to your name, or you coach and teach at a university, or that you facilitate with corporations and offer LinkedIn learning courses. So our question asker today, Chazz, is a great example of this. When I Googled him, it was easy to see that he had a ton of press interviews and media mentions. On his website, he shares a speaker's reel and a bunch of topics that you can book him for, which is great. His website is well designed and all of the links work. Seriously, y'all, do not underestimate the power of your technical details, because I see so many broken websites when Googling potential authors, and that is the number one thing that tells me you are nowhere near ready for a book deal. So let's go back to Chazz, though. I'm going to go off my rant and get back to Chazz. He's got a little bit of everything, right? Which is great. But, and this is a big but, I could not tell right away what makes Chazz unique as a coach, speaker, and leader. And I'm not saying this to be critical or to single him out, because this is so common among coaches and people in the personal growth space more generally. Therapists, I'm talking to you as well. Many entrepreneurs in general do not have unique intellectual property. You lack your own frameworks, you lack your own approaches, you lack your own way of talking about the problem and helping your ideal client with the solution. That is such a big deal, because intellectual property is key to building an author platform, because it helps you be known for something, specifically without the use of jargon or buzzwords. And creating that intellectual property can often be a big challenge. That's especially true for those of you who are in fields where there isn't a lot of uniqueness, like coaching and personal growth. In these realms, people tend to teach about managing your mind, choosing positive thoughts, overcoming limiting beliefs, healing trauma. I could go on, but you've likely heard it before or seen it on TikTok. That lack of uniqueness, using that same phrasing, talking about the same problem, same solution, can cause you to struggle to stand out and therefore really struggle to build an overall audience and author platform. You can be great at what you do, but still stay small, which is why intellectual property might be the thing that's missing from your platform. What I've seen be successful among my clients and other best-selling authors is either hyper-focusing on a niche within a niche, or coming up with a unique framework for what you do. So a great example of both of these things is my client, Melody Wilding. Melody works with what she calls sensitive strivers, high achievers that are also more sensitive to their emotions, the world, and the behavior of those around them. Her first book, Trust Yourself, was about how these sensitive strivers can thrive at work. And her second book, Managing Up, is about being able to communicate clearly with the folks in charge at your job. Melody is a great example of taking your expertise and packaging it into truly unique messaging that allows people to know what your brand is about from the jump. While Melody certainly teaches a lot of the same frameworks and concepts as other coaches, she's packaged it in her own unique way for a specific defined audience, which is why her author platform has worked and her books have been successful. Okay. So, a credible author platform has to include a strong social media presence, but it also gets to be diversified, meaning that you get to have multiple avenues to promote yourself in your book and to create unique intellectual property to do so. We can add media credits as well, since these are great for credibility, though in today's news cycle, media is really limited. PR isn't good for much else. PR actually doesn't sell books anymore, right? We're going to have Caitlin Koppel from Full Swing PR in an upcoming episode to explain the media landscape right now, but PR is basically good for cred, and that's about it. So we have social media, we have diversification, we have IP, but we're missing the most important aspect of any author platform, which is your ability to sell books. So something I noticed about Chazz is that he's published a book before, and a lot of y'all are coming to me in this position. Okay. So all the advice I've given about overcoming that, because having another book out is a challenge. You are actually putting something in the way between you and your deal. So you need to understand about how to overcome that, or how to tell a story about that, or how to sell enough copies of your first book to make this a non-issue. Okay. So all the advice I've given, particularly in episode 20 about this, applies to Chazz's situation. However, I want to add that when you do have a previous published book, you actually have an advantage, because you can use that book to demonstrate how your author platform sells books. So if there's something that Chazz does within his business that sells books and hopefully gets people to work with him in more lucrative ways, then he knows what parts of his platform to really focus on growing. And when you do that, you accomplish 3 goals at once. Number 1, you grow your author platform. Number 2, you grow your previous book sales, which gets rid of a big objection from publishers and agents. And 3rd, you grow your business, which is what we're here to do, right? Like, it's really what we're here to do. Because if you're not here to grow your business, traditional publishing isn't probably a good spot for you. So that's the answer to your question, Chazz, and I hope you found it helpful. Now, if you have a question about how to get the book deal of your dreams, the link is in the show notes. I love answering these questions, and I really look forward to hearing from you. Until next time, cheers to your success. Thanks for tuning into the Kind of Big Book Deal podcast. Want to see where you're at on your book journey? Check out my free quiz at meghanstevenson.com/quiz. That's MEGHANSTEVENSON.com/quiz. See you next time.